That's fine.
It's lagging, that's the problem.
Okay, now we are live in YouTube. Yeah. Can we start now?
And
The participants still, that's very low. I think we still inviting people to join this session.
Okay, we can take a few minutes to let them join. Yeah.
Yes, 25 participants, 15.
so Byron, when are you coming to Jakarta?
Oh, as soon as I can fly, man. Waiting for my second jab. That hasn't happened yet. And then after that, yeah, I will.
When is that? Your second job?
6th of September.
Okay.
Not long to go.
Mine is on the 10th.
Okay.
Nice.
Similar with me. I am 12 or 13 September.
Okay.
Second,
So, nearby.
AstraZeneca.
Same here, AstraZeneca. That's why we all haven't got it yet.
Yes, AstraZeneca take 3 months for us.
Correct.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
How about you, Raymond?
Yeah, done with both my jabs.
Yeah.
Yours is what? Pfizer?
Yes, mine. No. Mine is Astra. Same.
That's right.
Astra.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that old. I don't qualify for Pfizer. Is that? For senior citizens.
You can read my mind.
Having said that, as I was walking to queue up for my Astra, the police guy called me out of the queue. Said, "Sir, you are entitled to that special lane over there." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, those above 60, they can go freely that line. You don't have to queue here." I said, okay, I think I'll stick here. I said.
Above 60, Raymond.
Yeah, he called me out. So I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "No, but I don't think I qualify." He started laughing.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's not yet. I think it's 1:30. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Waiting for 1:30. Yeah.
Yeah. And issues.
Yeah, maybe Byron don't know. That Munira not join this session because of her mom in hospital now.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation if our family at hospital because maybe we cannot go to look after for them.
Yeah, it's the difficulty, isn't it?
Andy, I'm just going to log out and log in again. Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah. So actually today we can talk about BPO. Yeah. Because
the panelists,
all BPO fellows in one panel.
BPO, yeah. But this is, that it's not planned. that all of you choose this August.
Yeah. So because when I got the invitation, Andy, so I just say, okay, I'll go in with the last session. No? And I didn't know that Byron will be here, Raymond will be here.
And here I was thinking, Saravanan, that you joined this session because of Raymond and I.
my apology.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if Munira could join, but
Yeah. She cannot make it. I think Brand International is fast growing as well. Yeah, BPO now. Yeah, in Malaysia. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they are. Would have been nice to have Munira here because that would complete. We have all BPOs.
Yes.
But it would have been nice to have one female BPO leader.
Yeah.
Now we are all men in the room.
Yeah. That's why I invite her to join. But I think in last minute, just this morning, she texts me that she cannot make it. Okay. waiting for Raymond. Raymond is joining.
Andy, I'm still having problems with the background. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, sorry, really sorry.
Yes, that's fine.
Just like Byron, I didn't check my email 3 weeks ago.
No, I think you better check with your IT, Raymond. I think they might have locked it so that you cannot remove your day 3 background.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
No, it's not that. The problem is that I'm running on dual screen and my PC is not the fastest, so I have problems syncing when I'm running. So I try to move the dual screen, it's still not working. Anyway,
That's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. All of us already using the same background. Okay, can we start now? Even though it's only 26 participants, it seems that, but I think it's continue to grow the participant. Yeah, hopefully. Please, our team is inviting the participant to join. Okay, let's start because now is 1:30 already. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Wait. Okay. Okay, team, is it okay now? We can start.
Yes, Pandi.
Okay. Good afternoon. I think. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this the third session for leader talk for Asia Pacific. This is the only way that we can do during this pandemic to be active in association, especially for contact center Asia Pacific. And it's not easy to invite all these guys, the leader, very busy time for them. And I think thank you for the support for all of speaker. Hopefully today we can have a lot of discussion about the roadmap for leaders. And I think this topic could be a strategic thinking for all the leaders, how to have a roadmap in contact center, especially in this situation, digital. I think a lot of changes, especially for pandemic. I read a lot of article from Raymond. She like to write, yeah. I think so. And Pak Sarah also joining us for the ICCA discussion every morning. I sharing something. I think that's a good discussion. So let's introduce our speaker today, and who want to be the first one?
Well, I can go first, Pak Andy.
Okay,
We'll go in alphabetical order since I'm Byron starting with me. Good afternoon, everyone. Very, very happy to be here. Thank you, Pak Andy and CC-APAC for giving us the opportunity to be here and to speak at today's Leaders Talk. My name is Byron Fernandez. I take care of the operations for TDCX, which is an up-and-coming BPO. And we are present in many countries and expanding very, very rapidly. I also serve as its group CIO, so don't hesitate to raise IT aspects of the questioning if that should be useful to anyone in the audience. Once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Byron. Okay, I know Byron a very long time. I think every time I visit Malaysia during, I think, 19 or 2000, I came to Singapore, and it has been 20 years now.
Yes, we've known each other for 20 years, but
Yes,
a long, long time.
But you still look young. Maybe because you bike.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Helps with the stress.
Can you talk a little bit about your hobby?
So yes, my hobby was previously in racing motorcycles. So I used to ride fast superbikes, and I spent a lot of time on the track, a lot of time in the mountains. That's how I spend my weekends. But recently, with age, I think things have changed a little bit for me. I still have the superbike, but I've started working with the Harley Davidson community, and what we do is a lot of community outreach. So we look for charitable organizations that we can contribute to. We generally ride, especially to orphanages, where the theme is young children, and we spend our weekends, besides just riding around on the bikes, fixing up things in the orphanages, finding items we can donate, raising money, and the part I like best, Pak Andy, is taking the children out on rides. So we put them on the back of the bike and take them for a ride around town, and normally they end up smiling and very happy. It's an amazing feeling.
So this is a combination for social networking and other things. Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
Enjoy the hobby. Okay. Next. So the next should be Raymond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Pak Andy, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. You mentioned that I write, but I don't think I've come to a point where I'm able to write a book like you. Your reputation precedes you in many parts of the world, including Malaysia. I'm glad to be a recipient of an autographed copy of your book as well. So congratulations to you. Just a quick background about myself. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Day3 Business Services here in Malaysia. Today we have close to about 2,500, going to 3,000 people, servicing various industries in the market. Mainly in telecommunications, energy and utilities, e-commerce, and also an area which is close to my heart, which is in financial services. I'm actually a chartered accountant by profession. I spent my formative years in a company called PwC, the first 10 years of my life, before spending another 10 years in a lot of technology companies, so finance and it's always been something very close to my heart. And today, I'm glad that we do a lot of work for the financial services as well. So just a little brief background about the company.
Thank you, Raymond. It seems that Byron and Raymond have the same background in technical, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Mine in IT and Raymond in finance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes technical guy not easy to become the top management, yeah. So
it's also hard for a finance person who doesn't understand contact center as well. So
okay, let me give to Pak Sarah, yeah, who already moved to Jakarta and enjoy nasi rendang in Jakarta. Okay, please.
Thank you, Pak Andy, and I'm honored to be here together with my fellow colleagues from Malaysia, Pak Byron and Pak Raymond, and thank you to CC-APAC for inviting me for this speaker session today. I'm not new to the contact center environment in Malaysia, but I'm new in Indonesia. I've been here for the past, it's going to be close to 18 months now in Indonesia, managing PT Vets, and PT Vets actually is a subsidiary of Telekom Malaysia. Telekom Malaysia is actually a largest broadband player in Malaysia, and we have a subsidiary called Vets in Malaysia and also Indonesia. And my background, Pak Andy, Byron, and also Raymond, yeah, I'm actually background, my bachelor degree is actually in engineering, engineer by professional, yeah. So again, don't ask me how I ended up in the BPO, but it is a long story. We can actually have a chat to talk about it, but I'm happy to be here. And definitely today, VETS in Indonesia, we have close to more than 6,500 people, yeah, managing various services that we have, like to be from financial, e-commerce, yeah, utility, and many more. And definitely, I hope that in this speaker session today, we'll be sharing and also exchanging information so that how can we grow this speaker industry better. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Sarah, and welcome to Jakarta as well. Yeah, hopefully you become familiar of all the guys here. Okay, let's start with the discussion. I think because we're talking about the what is roadmap, yeah, roadmap in this industry. And starting with Byron, what do you think the roadmap for the leader now in these changes? So many changes. So sometimes people say that we cannot plan anything now because everything changes very fast. So what do you think?
So, Pak Andy, that's a really great question. First of all, if we talk about the roadmap to success and we think about what's happening now that we are in a pandemic world, that roadmap has changed so much. Just in the past 18 to 24 months, that roadmap has been completely rethought. There was a time, Pak Andy, when you talk to clients, and especially coming from BPO industry like I do, when you talk to clients and you say, let's do work from home, right? Because we can give people a bit more of a home and work balance. Nobody said yes. Everybody's no, cannot, it's not secure, it's not safe. How do you know they'll be working? They won't actually be working. We'll have so many problems. And then when the pandemic came, guess what? There's no choice. Everybody did it. In Malaysia, Pak Andy, we were forced to transform into work from home within 48 hours. That's all we were given. And at 48, yes, our Prime Minister came on TV. He said in 48 hours, everyone's working from home. And at that point in time, we were able to transition well over 95% of the organization to work from home because the technology has always been there. The reality, Pak Andy, is people, human beings, are much more responsible, are much more capable than many of us give them credit for in management. And I think that our industry, because we attract a lot of really, really good talent that's responsible, we know what it means when we're late. Someone else has to answer the call for me because I'm late. When I go on break when I shouldn't, it completely disrupts the whole schedule. It disrupts the delivery of services. It disrupts the SLA. It makes life difficult for all of the people who work with me. And I think contact center people in that way are very responsible because we are team players. We know that when we don't do that, it disrupts the entire organization. The other thing as well, I thought that was really, really amazing in this pandemic time is the amount of care that we need to show for people. Unlike many other businesses, I mean, if you talk to Pak Sarah just now mentioned Telecom Malaysia, right? It's a telco provider. They're in the business of providing a network. They make a network. We are in the business of talking to people. We're in the business of solving problems. Our raw material is people, Pak Andy. And so at this time in the pandemic, I find myself 100% focused on how am I going to take care of all of the people that work for the company that I work for and make sure that they're successful, that they continue to do well in their home environment, that they adapt to this change because it's a huge change. It affects us in so many different ways. One of my close friends who works with me said to me, I've never seen so much of my wife and kids, and I'm not sure I want to. So it's a huge change, right, for everyone. So I guess the focus now is, just making sure people cope and they adapt with that change. I hope that helps and answers the question a little bit.
Is it been that there is now a balance between working, family, and okay. Move to Raymond. Okay, as a leader in Malaysia now, I think this is also changes, in your company especially. Do you have a roadmap or revamping the roadmap of your company because of the changes now?
Well, Andy, interesting you mentioned the word change and how do you plan in a time when, things are so, what I like to say, we live in a real volatile and ambiguous, uncertain world and made more complex by so much of uncertainties around us, right? I suppose the game plan today is to plan for change, I think that is the thing. When you talk about roadmap, you talk about plan for change. And I think for us in the contact center industry, I don't think it's foreign. We have embraced change quite a bit from the early days. When we started, I'm sure when you started, when we started CCM at least, It was call center, it wasn't contact center in 1999. It was an era where we lived with landlines. The toll-free numbers were so important, and very quickly moved away from that to internet era. And people began to contact and communicate with their service providers through the internet. And shortly after that, we moved from internet to mobile. Everything became mobile. All the millennials are now using their phones. They want to reach out to us on social media and stuff like that, right? So the contact center industry has gone through and I say embrace these changes very quickly and rapidly, and now today as we speak, we are going through a fourth change. At least I'm talking about the last 20 years, right? If I can break it into 4 zones. There was a landline area, there was an era, there was this internet era, there was this mobile era. But today we're talking about digitalization, right? We're talking about machine learning, we're talking about artificial intelligence and stuff like that, right? Again, we are going through this change. And, I think Byron rightly put, right, that this entire pandemic has caused us to move very quickly and adapt. And I think in my organization, it's the same thing. While we had a nice roadmap to say that, we will embrace machine learning in 2 years, we'll embrace AI in 3 years, we'll adopt RPA in whatever period of time. That plan just shrunk, just compressed. COVID has become our, Byron is the group CIO, right? But my group CIO is the pandemic itself, because it brought everything down and compressed everything. All these plans that we wanted to do over a period of 2 to 3 years, we are doing it now.
I see.
Again, I think what is certain is there's going to be plenty of uncertainties going forward. And I think as leaders, that is the most important thing and attribute as a leader, is to keep abreast of what's going on, the changes, the different technology, and how does that apply to your business. So in Bahasa Malaysia, we say peka. I don't know whether is that the word we use in
similar.
Right? So we are peka, we are to the surroundings, to what is going on. And for us as leaders, that is very important. But not just to take a new technology and just implement it, but to see whether it works for you, it works for your client, and most importantly, whether this technology is going to improve customer experience. So, I think that roadmap, we will see that change very rapidly in the next few years. Just my personal thought, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Raymond. It means that pandemic become your driver to this technology implementation. But do you think the implementation technology now is more cheaper than it should be before?
Oh, absolutely. And as a business owner, I can tell you the amount of money we spent on CAPEX when I first started this business in wanting to set up a state-of-the-art Ferrari sort of technology, right? But I think today, a lot of things at the fingertips. You can set up a cloud contact center. Byron will be able to tell you more, right? I think in a week you can set up a 100-seater just like that if you go on cloud, right? You can deploy people to work from home to get the basic infrastructure up at least, right? It wasn't the case 10 years ago, right? So today technology has become prevalent, number one, and of course the cost of technology has dropped, and of course we know the theory that the capacity of processors double up every few years and the price goes down, right? We've all read about that, and that's true to our business as well.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's good point. I mean that I think let's get a point of view from Pak Saraya regarding, because you see Indonesia and Malaysia BPO in both location. I think you have some point of view regarding these changes for the roadmap.
Yeah, I can't deny further from the perspective of what Byron and Raymond has mentioned. I mean, I came in at the time of pandemic. When I joined PT Vets, it was actually in the month of March 2020. And that was actually at the beginning stage of the worst that we are facing at this point of time. And true enough, as we look at the particular situation that we are facing today, the good thing about the BPO or business process outsourcing here is that we have gone through many types of changes, many types of transformation. And that actually has strengthened us to be so agile in accepting the change. The only thing that I believe that what exactly the situation that all of us being a BPO practitioner is that we know that when we talk about work from home, there has been always a taboo in terms of whether this is possible or not, whether this is possible to be done or not. But what exactly had taken place, this particular pandemic had made us to agree that this is possible to be done. And we cannot deny that anymore. This is actually happening and this already proven working. And talking from the perspective of a leader, I mean, I always like to see it from two angles, Pak Andy. I mean, the internal and also the external factor. Yeah. So when we talk about the internal factor here, I mean, I see it from the internal stakeholders is achieved within the organization. How exactly the role of the leader managing the organization from the perspective of people, the situation that requires our involvement as a leader, not only looking at their well-being, but how we shape them together with the aspiration of the organization. Yeah. And that requires a lot of, aspiration coming from the internal. But at the same time, when we talk about BPO, we know that we are also serving our external clients.
Yeah.
And they are so important. How do we bring them together in this particular situation? Yeah. And you being a leader, how do you deliver this as not only from the perspective of, just getting the particular business, but bringing these particular changes that are happening, that making them to understand, and you being a trusted BPO for them. So I guess what exactly, as a BPO provider, I can see that there is no room for us to say that we are not ready. BPO continue to play that we need to be advanced in dealing with the changes and anticipate the changes that are happening. And in fact, I think there's nobody can actually talk more about this other than us to our client, making them to be made ready and also accepting what exactly that needs to be done during this particular difficult time. So that is actually, my opening on this particular topic, Andy.
Thank you, Pak Sarah, regarding that key point. I think back to Byron regarding what Raymond mentioned regarding efficiency of the implementation of technology, because you are technology guy. Yeah, what do you think what next we need to implement in contact center, or what do you think the roadmap should be in contact center?
That's a very interesting question, Bob. There are some new tools that have been put in place now with the emergence of work from home that I think were not there or were not so important in the past. Right now, some of the more advanced BPOs, we're having in place tools that can actually monitor which particular screen people are spending the most amount of their time on. And that's really useful, because then you might realize, oh my goodness, my agents are spending so much time calculating something on Excel or doing something, on some other system rather than doing work that's productive for them. And that's given us the opportunity to see what can we do to further enhance. So systems that are giving us a lot more data than we had before. That's something that's becoming very, very important. The second thing, I think, is systems that will allow for a certain amount of due diligence, that will be able to deliver some of that due diligence. Things like facial recognition as a means to log on, for example. When you talk to your clients and you say we're going to work from home, one of the things the clients will worry about is, how do you know that it's just your agent there on my system? Is there a way you can do that? And this has given rise to some very interesting technologies using facial recognition, using cameras. And I think all of this has then come together now to bring about a kind of robustness that will allow people to work from home in the longer term and with good results. The other things that I'm seeing from a system perspective, is I talked about people earlier, right? Normally, what do? We have staff satisfaction survey once a year. We cannot afford to do that anymore. Now people are doing a sentiment analysis on their workforce on a regular basis. There are platforms out there that are asking your people, how are you feeling today? There are platforms that look at people's facial features, see whether they're smiling, whether they're happy, they're unhappy, based on what they're doing. And that information is absolutely critical for us, because, Pandi, it's been almost 2 years. Pandemic fatigue is real. People are getting burned out from being at home. People are getting fed up of not being able to move. And I think having systems that looks at the quality of life our people are experiencing at this point in time is definitely something that's going to be very, very important. And then we look again at one of the other things that's important. What about learning? Now that we're in pandemic time, we cannot have classroom training as much
Yeah.
as we used to before. We cannot, open up a big class and have people come and learn. So what
Yeah.
are we doing? There's renewed interest in learning platforms,
I see.
things like LinkedIn Learning,
Yeah.
learning organizations in the company. Last time, what do?
Yeah.
We design training, then we deliver training.
Yes.
Now a lot of learning and development teams, they are looking at content that's out there on whether it's LinkedIn Learning or whatever, and they're curating and finding courses that are important for the development of their people, and then rolling these courses out using electronic platforms.
Yes.
So
The
I think,
digital.
yes, correct. It's all digital. So I think that, all of these things to support human development and the ability for human beings to work in isolation is where the technology has to be focused in the coming months, because of this pandemic.
And I think the technology now to monitor that performance of the agent is more easy than before. Yeah.
It surely is. Pak Andi, one thing very special about our industry, when
Yes.
you're working in office, we
Yeah.
already know your log on time, your
Yeah.
log off time, your work breaks, your coaching, your work. Our systems always were tracking this.
Yeah.
So we contact center people, that discipline has always been there. It's not new for us.
Yeah.
We go to work from home. The same measure still
Yeah.
applies to everyone. The only difference now is that we don't have our team leaders there to support. We maybe don't have our security personnel to make sure people don't do things they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
We maybe don't have the ability to have a private space for people to have those conversations. But there are ways around all of this, right?
Yes. Yes. Sure. Thank you. Back to Raymond regarding what Byron said about so many technology around us. Do you think the leader itself ready for the this transformation? Because sometimes because of the leader itself, not easy to change. I mean, that agent may be very easy, but I don't know the leader. What do you think?
Well, yeah, interesting question, Pandy. You shared a recent article I wrote about digital culture. I think and I think that article, I shared my thoughts about developing a culture in an organization. And we have corporate culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what is this digital culture, right? And I think Byron touched on that just as he spoke about some of the tools that we use today. I think while all these tools are available, as a leader, it starts from the very top. The culture of wanting to digitalize some of the processes that you manage with the ultimate goal of wanting to improve customer experience. That has to come from the very top, and that has to disseminate downwards. And really, when you talk about culture, the difference between culture and just implementing a tool. Sometimes you go to a conference and you hear, RPA, beautiful, let's take the robotic and put it into our process, manage the process and run it, right? But at the same time, you don't expose your people to technology. For example, they're still punching in, logging out, using a manual sheet, for example, or things like that, right? Simple things like that. You're still working, your overtime claim forms are still on Excel, for example. And I'm not degrading Excel in any reason or whatsoever. But what I'm saying is so manual and tedious. Then the experience is by the employee is very different. And very often, when I deal with a lot of startups as well, you see the front end engine, the app is so beautiful. It's highly digitized. But when you go into the operations at the back end, everything is manual. A lot of the data being managed are so manual. So my question has always been, how do you then proliferate the culture across? Because if you want to create a digital experience for your customer, it must begin with the employee. Right? And for it to begin with the employee, then it must come from the top. It must come from the leadership. So everything you do internally, in some way or form needs to be made more efficient through a digital process, and therefore create this culture that goes outwards.
I see.
So that your customer also experience or enjoys that similar experience. Or else, if you don't have the culture, it will be a big mismatch, because you are just trying to adopt tools rather than adopt a culture of wanting to improve customer experience. The ultimate goal is customer experience. And for us in the contact center, that's it. As you evaluate all the tools available, is
Yeah.
how do you increase customer experience. And I'll pause here, but I'll probably give you some examples later on as we go along. Yeah, thanks.
How about Pak Sarah regarding this one? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I guess the one important element that we cannot deny in terms of going through this particular situation is communication.
Yeah.
When I see what exactly is happening here, technology, I mean, as being mentioned by Byron and also Raymond, technology, I mean, easily able to be bought and put into the breakout organization. But what is actually important here is actually how can we translate this into a proper deliverables to our people. And this is what I observe throughout this particular 18 months that we have been going through in terms of how we ensure the particular communication goes out easily for the people to accept, to adopt, and embrace the change that we are going through. And the thing here, actually, we can continue to be like what we are doing right now. We can still go to the office and get things done, but that is not the right way. And this is where, I mean, when we talk about walk the talk, leaders showing the right example, and this is actually again being translated when we position this for our client. And I think I always like to bring it from the perspective of people, not because of anything, because whatever that we have today from the technology perspective, I mean, fantastic. We have been going through this particular transformation, not today, not yesterday, but to make all these things happen is actually the people. And this is where the role of a leader is actually so important, to bring them to really have the bigger understanding and making it happen, not only from the internal stakeholder perspective, but also the external.
How about the ratio of controlling between the leader and the agent itself? What do you think? Is there any changes? I mean, that the number of ratio become lower or become bigger?
Yeah. So from the contact center perspective, Andy, what I'm seeing is, I mean, we still hold on the COPC best practices, right? 1 to 15, right? One team leader to 15, agents, or customer champions. And we also have the supervisor, we have the team managers, all those. I mean, for me personally, for the past, changes which had taken place, I have not changed that model. The model still works well.
Okay.
And the thing that I see the change here, actually, how exactly the particular respective leaders at the respective level, having the particular engagement with the particular members to ensure the productivity is still being managed. And I think, of course, like what Byron mentioned just now, is actually in terms of the monitoring of this particular situation. Because when the person is actually at home, I mean, in our environment today in Indonesia, I mean, I'm seeing most of the client today actually really concerned. And I think it doesn't change much from the perspective of the client that we have in Malaysia too. How you ensure that the particular individual, that when he or she doing the paperwork, information is not being leaked. So all this comes together with the particular technology that we need to equip to ensure this is actually being done correctly.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Sarah. Back to Byron regarding this one, because you are from BPO. Do you think that now your client is settled for the technology, what you are set up now, or you still moving forward for some roadmap to in next 2 years or 3 years?
Yes, I think, but Andy, the short answer is our clients are quite happy with what we have now. But they are relying on us to give them the innovations. They're relying on us to think about how to solve those worries that they have. They do still have those worries, as Pak Sarah rightly pointed out. They've agreed to this situation because COVID has more or less forced them to do that. But they're still relying on us to say, what can we do about it? Right? Are there things we can do from a surveillance perspective? Are there things that we can do from an education perspective? Are there methods and tools that we can put in place that can support a remote workforce in the longer term? And that's something that we've done. I think in the last 2 years, that's where all the effort has been. You know, previously, but Andy, can you imagine? You have to hire people, no problem. They come into your office for interview. You can't do that anymore. Now you're interviewing them remotely. How do you get an offer letter to them?
I see.
We're not going to courier a hard copy paper or it doesn't happen anymore. Even your HR systems need to become completely digitized. And I think this is something that clients are looking to us to
Yes.
guide and advise them what are some of the changes we can make in order that they'll be able to work from home in a more sustainable and more secure manner. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Similar with us now. Psychotest, we are doing remotely. Sign up the contract using remotely. All the things remotely. Okay. Yeah. I know that some of your client is technology based. Yeah. And this changing of, I think, is it growing for them because so many requests?
Yes. In fact, what's happening for us is we're seeing some of the industry verticals that we work in, Pak Andy, are
Yeah.
exploding. A
Oh.
lot of demand, a lot of people
Yeah,
want more. Just think about it, e-commerce, right? The demand on e-commerce is huge now. If you
Yeah.
think about the technology leaders, you talk
Yeah.
about platform leaders that help social communities. All these are going to grow because the reality is there's no alternative to physical social interaction. Now everything has to be virtual. So these clients are leading the charge. They're growing hugely. And then on the other side, we have some clients that are perhaps in a more traditional environment. Whether it's something that has been there for a long time, your hospitality travel, for example, if your client is an airline, definitely you're going to have a reduction in the kind of business that you're getting. So certain verticals are flying and certain verticals are either stagnant or have, compressed a little bit because of the pandemic. That's been my observation. Yeah.
Yeah, and Teledirect quite happy because you have in so many countries, yeah, like
That is
Singapore,
right.
Malaysia, and Thailand. So you can exchange the resources as well. Yeah.
Yes, we can. And one of the nice things about having these multiple locations is when you need to find resources from those countries, you at least have a representative office there, which is very nice. And you nailed it. That's one of the main advantages of
Yeah.
our network. Yeah.
Maybe I ask the question to Raymond. When are you ready to become in Indonesia?
As
No,
soon
I
as
don't
you,
ask to Byron about this. I ask to Raymond, when are you ready to set up in Indonesia? Because pets are already here.
as soon as you invite me, Pa Andy.
Let's do a collaboration.
Well, I can't disclose much at this moment, but definitely there are some plans that was there already in the works. But I think we also decided to just to pull the brakes a little bit for a while because of this pandemic period. The travel restrictions and stuff like that. But something that that probably we'll be looking at very soon as the pandemic is over. But coming back to this question of topic of work from home, I totally agree with my learned colleagues, that we have transitioned so well in Malaysia, for example. 85% of we have 85% internet penetration rate in urban and suburban areas.
Yeah.
So, just like Byron, within 48 hours were able to move. The entire industry in Malaysia, contact center industry in Malaysia shifted. In the first week, we all shifted to work from home. We transitioned from the office domain to work from home domain very quickly, very easily, and surprisingly seamlessly. The only problems is maybe maybe a few people, a percentage of the people we had to send dongles and stuff like that. But I think most of us packed our PCs, put in a box, and use GoJet or Grab, or Uber, and send it to their homes to have it to start work. But that was something that we did very quickly. Industries that never thought that we could work from home, as I was mentioning earlier, financial services industry, right, would never, because of regulatory reasons, will never allow you to work from home. But today they're open to the idea. Okay, let's talk about it, right? Okay, what are the technologies that you have? And Byron mentioned some of the technologies. Sarah mentioned some of the technologies earlier. So you begin to see that the industry is opening up to, hey, we can actually work from home. There are things that we can do. We can work from home. And that's happening, and that has happened the last 2 years. But let me be a devil's advocate a little bit, right? Is it honky-dory? Is everybody happy working from home? Is this going to be something that is going to be the new way of life for contact centers? I don't think so. I really, Andy, you and I think all of us here, we have been judges in some of these awards, whether it's CCM awards, when we walk into a contact center as a judge, right? You can feel your hair standing by the level of energy in the contact center. You know whether the people are motivated. And that really gives you an idea whether these people are doing the right things for their clients. Or are they just a very docile organization, just answering calls? You know from the get-go, when you walk into a door, you see the energy, right? And the reality is the people in the contact center, we thrive on social interactions. We do well. If you look at your awards, I've been to your awards, the people standing at the back, clapping and screaming. It's similar here in Malaysia, right? We're so into this, the social interaction is so important. And that's because, by and large, we hire demographics of population of candidates between the age, maybe I will say 22 to 29, before 30 as they become agents. So that group of people, they thrive on this social interaction, and they feed off each other's energy, and that's what really makes a contact center really successful.
I see.
I feel. But today there's a challenge because we put them all disparate, right? I'm not saying it's impossible. We're still doing with what we can, but it poses a challenge because of the lack of social interaction. If somebody is upset, if somebody is down, you can't motivate them. You do unless they voice it out to you. But how many of them do that? So the engagement level becomes totally different, right? So that's something that I think, going forward for contact centers, maybe we will come back to office as soon as we can.
But your office, it seems that already disappeared.
Yeah, I've rental
Our,
and nobody's
our
sitting,
physical location,
not making money at the cleaners. But but having said that, I think but what is good is because we have opened our minds to this new way of work. There's going to be a hybrid model. There's going to be a model where processes that you run collaboratively will probably work from home. Processes which you manage, which need not require so much collaboration. For example, content moderation. You can sit down and at the back of a desk and do the work yourself. You don't really need so much of collaboration. Those kind of work may continue to remain at home. But really, it gives us something to think about. As even as business leaders, do we want to continue to buy real estate, continue to spend and renovate space? We can buy a nice chair and send it to people's home. Buy a nice table and send it to people's home and say, hey, you work from there, I give you a nice good chair, good table. So these are questions that we are going to ask. But what I'm saying is that it will be a model of the future where I think contact centers will sort of find a balance and equilibrium where we will decide to live, to coexist between work from home and work from office.
I see. So the leader has to think out of the box regarding what we can do, but they need to motivate their own self as well, because it's not easy for them as well. It's not only agent, but the leader itself has to make sure their self is very confident, but the changes will be moving forward in better condition.
Which is not easy, Andy. I find it so difficult to cut off from work because my office is upstairs. I go down, I have my lunch, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I go back upstairs, I come back to my room, I start working. And during this pandemic, I've discovered I'm working till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night. I'm finding it hard to cut off from work because in the past, you're in office, when you leave office, you come home, you be with your family. Now it's like everything is so intertwined. The discipline is not easy to maintain that discipline, to cut off from work and that balance that you spoke about very briefly earlier. It's not easy.
How about you, Pasara? This is a very nice statement. No easy.
Sorry. When I look at this, it is true enough. The situation that we are going through right now is actually no longer the same like how it was previously. And I will definitely agree with what Raymond has mentioned just now in terms of the kind of feel, the kind of, energy that we get when actually walk in the contact center. That is something that we will not able to deny. Definitely, I echoed on what Raymond said. One day, I really hope that we can come back to the environment. But one thing that I think I would like to add on is actually in terms of the discipline. True enough, in this current situation that we are in, it's not that simple. But being a leader, this is what I told to my own self, that I still want to ensure that the discipline in terms of, like, I mean, when we work in the office environment, 8 to 5:30, and of course, as and when we have crises, we'll have the meetings, all that kind of thing. But being away from family, yeah, I know what are the kind of pain that I'm going through right now. But at the same time, I told to my team is that let's ensure that Monday to Friday, we really give all out to deliver, but Saturday, Sunday, I will not disturb you. I mean, that is actually, unless the situation really makes that you need to be in the environment of having the call, all that kind of thing. Yeah? And I position such a way that, I mean, thinking that we are still working in the office environment where after 5:30 or 6 or 6:30 or maybe 7 or 8 o'clock, the most, we will need to leave the office. So from there onwards, we should not be disturbing, because we know that when we work from homes today, I have seen many of us that works not, I mean, we said previously that, oh, working from home, you will have more time with your family, the kids will be in front of you, the wife will be there. But I'm also hearing a lot of complaints today that, yes, we are working from home, but most of our time is actually hooked up with the work. Hence, you are there, but you are not there from the perspective of the wife and the kids, you know. So this is something that we need to have the political discipline in terms of being a leader too. How can you ensure you give them the political rights, give them the political privacy over the weekend or after the working hours? That is what I'm doing at this point of time, Andy.
I see. So yeah, sometimes the working time longer because of the I mean that no limitation, yeah. For that one, but we need to control that one, yeah. Control about how we give what is something to do with our team, with leader as well. Okay, there is a question here for Byron. I think a very popular Byron here. Now, 2 questions from I think you already answered, right? Is how you manage your agent with working from home. And this question also asking, when are you extending to Indonesia market? This is question for you, Byron.
It's a very interesting question, Andy. Thank you. In fact, we've had ambition to be in Indonesia for some time now. And in fact, that probably would have happened a lot quicker if not for the pandemic. So do we want to be in Indonesia? Absolutely. Do we see a market in Indonesia that's worth being in? Absolutely. For quite a long time now, TDCX has served Indonesia as a market from Malaysia. So we actually have to find talent in Indonesia, relocate them to Kuala Lumpur, and then they live and work in KL, and then we serve Indonesia as a market. But there is merit to being onshore. Indonesia is not a small market, it's massive. And when you operate at that kind of scale, it makes sense to be there. So do we have ambition to be there? Yes. How soon can we get there? I think that we can. We'll find a way even through the pandemic is what I think. But definitely it's a very important market for us. The second question about how do we oversee the workforce when they're working from home? One of the things is by making sure that the workforce stays absolutely connected to us. So, speaking to them through the HRIS, using collaboration platforms like either Microsoft Teams or the Google G Suite equivalent. These are things that we've learned to get really good at. One of the first things we did when we had to go from work to office to work from home is we set up a 24/7 channel to teach people how to box and unbox their equipment and take it from the office at home, how to reassemble it. We added another channel on how do you configure your router at home for better security. What features do you turn off? UPnP, certain ports that you'll need to close. How do you configure things and manage bandwidth at home? So previously, it's just you use your bandwidth at home to watch Netflix and to entertain yourself. But now that you're working from home, you need to have enough available bandwidth to make sure that you don't have problems. So equipping people with all of that. So I think managing the workforce starts with collaboration platforms, making sure that you're there for them. And as I mentioned earlier, Pak Andi, even when we are in office, we can see the login, the logout, the systems already tell you everything. So that's there. But we do have some pretty special proprietary technology that we've developed that can actually do things like facial recognition, can actually detect prolonged periods of being away from your desk, for example, can actually look at analytics on your screen time, where you're spending a lot of time on screen, helping us understand where our agents' problems are and thinking of ways how to fix it for them.
Okay. How about the stages? I mean, that it could be now become client for your BPO is they asking faster than before. Maybe sometime 1 week before, maybe 1 month they give you time, but now they're asking for can do it one week, something like that. Is it happen like that?
So yes, it has been happening like that. Funnily enough, a lot of new clients, particularly Pak Andi, they know that we're working in a virtual environment. So for example, if I need to hire people from Indonesia, before I will fly them over to Malaysia immediately, right?
Yeah.
But now we're saying, it takes time to get the visa arranged. The question from the client is, why can't they work from Indonesia first?
Okay.
Get them ready and then fly them over when they're ready.
Yeah.
So a lot of creative ways of doing things are coming out now, and clients are pushing us and demanding more, demanding that we be faster, we be more agile, we be more flexible, and it's great. I'm enjoying it because it's forcing the organization to transform and to think and to move quicker than it did before.
Thanks. How about Raymond about this one? So your client moving very fast regarding their plan and so on. Yeah.
I think it is the same. I think I've not seen a client that has come to me and say, can we start in 6 months down the road or in 4 months down the road? It's always, although they have a timeline of 2 months, or they always say, can we start tomorrow or can we start yesterday? It's always been, that's always the mode, right? I've never had the luxury of being able to set that kind of time frames. But I think in this day and age, like Byron said, we have to be realistic. We are beginning to do that. Again, for very similar for some of the work that we are doing for the foreign languages that we support. We're actually doing it from offshore and looking at an appropriate time to bring them in. So that's something that we are already doing, and we continue to do that. And I think that is probably the fastest and most logical way of doing it. Travel restrictions are going to be there, and it's going to be there for some time, and we just have to work our way around that. I think a lot of industries are, as far as contact center support is concerned, has boomed during this pandemic period. We have seen in Malaysia, the rise of demand. And in fact, I can tell you for a fact that I speak a lot and engage a lot with the government agencies. One of the biggest hirers during the period of this pandemic is the contact center industry and the BPO industry, the biggest. We've been hiring people and reskilling people who have been retrenched, who have lost their jobs, people who even lost their jobs previously being involved in the gig economy. So one of the biggest hirers, and by the thousands, and the government recognizes that. And today, this morning, I was in another meeting, and they told me the number is something like 40 to 50% of the high risk of those people who are retrenched were people who joined the GBS industry and the contact center industry. So, there is a boom, and there is a boom in certain sectors, whether it's in telecommunication, whether it's in e-commerce, e-gaming, and these are some of the platforms that we are actually seeing, or verticals that we are seeing, has really grown. Of course, you have centers that support the travel and hospitality industry having gone down, but net we are still seeing that there's a net increase in terms and surge in terms of people, and all these clients who come to us is not like can we ramp up in a month or can we ramp up in 2 months. They are facing the surge now. Can we ramp up now? What can we do now? And really that again calls for creative thinking, creative ways of recruiting, right from, and creative ways of talent attraction, I call it. How do you identify the candidate? How you onboard, hire, assess, onboard, and the candidate and train them. Byron spoke about this earlier, and we're finding different ways of doing it using different tools and different collaborative tools to make sure that we are doing it faster than before. So that's been a challenge. It's not been easy, but I think these are things that we have learned in the last 18 months, which is going to benefit us going forward.
Okay.
You know, a tremendous leap in the amount of benefit that we're going to get.
Okay, Raymond, would you like to share with us your current company, Day 3? How big is, I mean, that what is typical your client?
Yeah, so we, like I said, I mentioned earlier, you know, we our buckets, our clients typically fall in 4 buckets:
I see.
in telecommunications, in energy and utilities, in e-commerce, and in financial services. So most of our clients would fall in one of these 4 buckets.
I see.
Large buckets, no doubt, but you know, we sort of try to stick ourselves to these 4 main areas. We build domain expertise in those areas, and we continue to target and focus clients in those space and those areas. So today we have close to coming up to 3,000 people.
3,000.
Yeah, with 12 delivery sites all across from north of Malaysia down to the south of Malaysia.
I see.
Yeah.
It's quite big as well. Yeah, 3,000 is not small small numbers of agents. Yeah.
We're all right. We're all right.
Okay, Pak Sarah, you have bigger numbers of agents. It's not. This is only Indonesia, but you have also in Malaysia. Yeah.
Correct.
So, what do you think what is the stages of the company to implement their changes now?
I mean, I have a slight different view that as what being said by Raymond and also Byron just now. Because if you look at, I mean, here in Indonesia, what exactly is happening? I mean, for the past 18 months, what I personally observe is that, I mean, in terms of requirement, there's actually a lot of requirement that coming in here. But converting it into become a service. That being delivered by the BPO at this particular point of time, my personal observation is actually it's a bit slow.
I see.
And what I'm observing here is actually there's a lot of requirement that being asked, but at the same time, we know, I mean, in Indonesia today, a lot of companies actually doing it in-house, a lot. I mean, let it be from the financial sector perspective, e-commerce, utilities, most of them actually doing in-house. Why? Because I mean, I have the purview of seeing how exactly the evolution of contact center in the environment of Malaysia, and I'm here in Indonesia today.
I see.
Personally, I am seeing that what exactly happening in Indonesia, it has gone beyond than what exactly happening in Malaysia. I mean, in Malaysia, one thing that I observe is that most of the client, they still stick to maybe one provider.
I see.
One BPO provider. Whereas here in Indonesia, most of the client actually having 2, sometimes they have 3. That is number 1. Number 2, they have also brought in the talent who used to be in BPO environment. Right now, they're actually in their own organization.
I see.
So these are the things that are happening. And there are requirements, not to say that, I mean, the contact center environment actually is growing, but actually is growing within the organization. So the BPO is actually having its own, I would say the word of quote unquote challenges in terms of growing in Indonesia. But at the same time, to address a bit in terms of as and when there's actually a requirement that coming in, So this is where that I am also observing that whenever there's actually a requirement coming in, it's no longer like how it was previously. I mean, looking at 2 months, 3 months of delivery. Because of this particular change of how we are doing the work today, I mean, client actually looking at for us to deliver much faster. Why? Because the approach that we are able to do so, especially when we talk about work from home, all that, from the process of hiring, training, delivering the particular services, all those actually able to be done remotely. So all this actually, the transformation is happening that actually expediting the process of deliverables.
I see. Do you think in Indonesia they are worried? I mean, that the company who set up their own, they worry about the cloud, the security, and what do you think they are worried about? Why they don't want to move to BPO?
It is not about they do not want to move to BPO. They have actually moved to BPO previously, and now the talent actually has brought in back to the organization. This is where I see the evolution that happening between Malaysia and Indonesia. I'm seeing actually much advanced in Indonesia because. And in Malaysia today, we are actually in the breakup phase of, I mean, we are still getting outsourcer to do it, all that, Whereas in Indonesia, it has gone one step higher, one step, above than whatever is happening today. So, so the startup company, when we talk about, non-core services to be outsourced, let BPO take it as the particular company that actually going to do all those, that particular stage in Malaysia, we have actually going through at a point of time, whereas in Indonesia, we have passed that particular stage and now it's coming back to the particular internal organization.
I see. Is it because new regulation of Indonesia or Cipta Kerja?
Okay, UCK Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja.
Because of this, I think so.
Could be, because this is actually again another challenge that all of the particular players actually having at this point of time in terms of the compensation. That we need to give 1 month salary, all those, and it's actually a continuous conversation that happening. And it came at the time that all of us actually going through this pandemic. Is this right to do? Whether should we do it? There's always a dilemma right now where we want to pass this cost to the organization, and the organization said, no, you as a BPO, you have to manage it. So these are the things that the continuous conversation is happening.
I think this is a tips also for Byron and Raymond before entering the Indonesia market. I think this is
I have to think twice now, Pak Andy. I have to think twice now.
But in Indonesia there is some BPO working for telephony base, and some of them is digital. For digital company that have some different way they are doing business in Indonesia. Okay. I think let me give a chance to the participant to ask question. If anyone want to ask question, please go ahead now. Already 1 hour talking with all of them. I think we have some good point from them about these changes. So please, if someone want to talk, ask a question, go ahead. Participant, there is attendee here. Go ahead if you have a question. Okay, I think there is a question. No question. Pak Sudibyo, it's not a question. This is just a comment. What do you think this Uberization trend, whether near or far from realization? I think this is talking about agent. Because some issue here, whether we can hire agent based on 1 hour, 2 hour, how?
I guess, Pak Andy, in our environment here in Indonesia, this is where the kemitraan or the partnership, which is actually very interesting at this point of time that we are discussing, looking at how can the concept of Uber to be brought in the environment of contact center. And the Byron and Raymond, this is a topic that I've talked within my organization in Malaysia easily 3 years back, because we must be able to believe that the freedom that we need to give to our contact center people, number 1. Number 2, we must also agree that in the environment of contact center today, what exactly is happening is we're playing with volume, and the volume from traditional has moved to the digital, and none of us can predict what exactly the volume going to be. But we also have moved from the customer service to customer experience. And because of that, we need to be ready in terms of as and when this kind of spike that happening, regardless of whether from the traditional or digital, how best can we ensure we get the right customer experience still being delivered to our client and also our end customer. And this is where the concept of, this Uberization needs to come in. Where we have the system ready, okay, at this slot, who is exactly going to come in, how is it going to check in terms of productivity, how are we going to pay them back? And I guess, Byron, for sure, you already have in your mind in terms of how to make this thing happen. And maybe it's already happening. I'm not sure.
How, Byron?
Well, we've already created a system that will allow for us to do this. We do have some clients that have incredible amounts of seasonality, where you put out. Think about maybe if you had a pay TV company, suddenly there's an outage and you can't watch,
Yeah.
especially if it's football season. The kind of volume interactions you'd get would spike, it would fly immediately. And you know, being if you think in the traditional way and you only have your full-time workforce, what can you do with that? There's not much you can do with that. But if you did have, in fact, a latent workforce that you've trained. So as a concept, you could actually have a workforce that's trained, that's ready, that you pay maybe a small retainer so that they go through quizzes, they go through refreshers, they maybe take 1-2 hours of interactions a month, and that's kind of mandatory. And then when they're ready to work during those high volume periods, then you pay them by the hour for the amount of work they're doing during those high volume periods. I think that what really doesn't allow for that kind of flexibility is some of the systems that are available in the market. You always think in traditional terms. Workforce management is you have to do, you have to know your call arrival patterns, you've got to have your forecasting and scheduling done, and then you have to overlay things over it. But you and I know that's not even relevant anymore. As a baseline, maybe it is, yes. But when things happen, right? Outages, for example, on an e-commerce platform, you imagine a 11/11 or a 12/12, the kind of volumes you get on those days will be that much higher. So having a workforce that's ready to support there, a dynamic, flexible workforce using this Uberization concept is certainly something that's going to work. And there are prototypes out there. We've been testing it, we've been trialing it, and we do know that there is a place and time to use this kind of workforce, and it can be very helpful.
It could be also because some people also willing to be more flexible in their managing their time and the way where they are working. If I look for the e-commerce in Indonesia, because there are many shops they open, that they self-managing themselves, and I think this is become huge population. So many people doing their own business. Only sending some goods, something like that. Even though I just read one news from Malaysia today, I think AirAsia having the car.
Yes. They've gone into ride e-hailing. So basically, like
Grab, maybe the pilot is become the car driver. Changing the habit. People more flexible for doing the job. Okay. Maybe Raymond want to speak something.
Well, I think on this issue of Uberization, or what I call it's part of the gig economy, right? People want to come in and work for a few hours. We do that in our organization. We started this, about a year ago, maybe, to be honest. But I think the reality is this: there are some processes that we manage where an agent would need to understand 30 to 40 different products before they can even take an interaction, right? That is very, very challenging to welcome the gig economy, because you got to keep them constantly updated with the changes that is going on before they can even take up the interaction. Now, the ultimate goal is customer experience. Again, I focus on customer experience. You can take that interaction, but if your FCR is low, you don't meet your CX. So what is the point of just having people for the sake of having people? You get your service levels up, but your FCR's down, right? So that is a real problem. So so I think the reality is this, right? I think there are some kinds of interactions we would welcome the gig economy. If you can train the guy in 1 week, in a few days, as Byron said, you sort of put them like a piloting. You must have certain number of flying hours a year, right? So you must have certain number of flying hours a month in the contact center before you can be called and say, hey, come in. There's a surge. Come in. Take up the calls. But there will be some kind of interactions, like some of the interactions we manage for the financial services. It's almost impossible to do that. So again, I think it's not straightforward to answer to say yes, but I think it really depends on the process that you're managing. There'll be some processes that we will definitely welcome the gig economy, and there's some processes is very highly difficult to get that to achieve that.
Okay, we already talking about the digitalization technology, people, how we moving forward with the people, especially for the outsourcing. I mean that Uberization is some key and leadership. How to have what is the leader become more confident that we need to moving forward. What else do you think, Pak Sarah, we need to think about for these changes?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, being a leader in the contact center, for me personally, I mean, when I was given this particular opportunity to lead the particular team,
yeah,
suddenly a surge, yeah, I mean, a surge from 3,000 people to 6,000 people, and going in away from my home country. It's not an easy task for me. But I am a strong believer that people is people. I mean, it's actually, I mean, something that you need to really work on in terms of how can you ensure that you, as a leader, well being respected by the people. And I always like to see it from two aspects.
Yeah.
I mean, the aspect that I always like to see is how you able to deliver what is required for your people. And as a leader, for me, I am a strong believer that I need to allocate my time for my people.
I see.
And when I say allocating the time for my people, what I'm doing right now is that, I mean, though I'm actually the CEO of the company, 3 days in a week, 3 days in a week for 2-hour session, I will be in the session together, I mean, using all the pickup platform, the Microsoft Teams, all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Being with them at the level of, I mean, let it be the team leader or supervisor, at the level of assistant managers, witnessing them, I mean, sharing and presenting on the performance of the respective projects under their care. And this is actually the effort that I am putting personally, not just want to cut all the particular layers that we have, but to continue to get them to be where they're supposed to be. Number two, here actually in terms of making them to realize that, I mean, this is the effort that being put by the leaders in terms of going through this difficult time. Because grooming a person in the organization to be where they're supposed to be is not about just talking. It is actually about converting this into an activity. And this is what exactly that I am doing personally today. Every week without fail, 2 hours for 3 days, I'm spending time with them and trying to coach them, not only from the way that they are presenting, the way they are articulating in terms of their particular details. And this is where also as a leader, I guess at this point of time, I don't think so it's actually right anymore for a leader who doesn't know about this BPO or contact center to just being plugged and put into the organization. We can't. And I mean, because how exactly in this environment today, the people actually really look up and see whether this leader, he or she knows what exactly he's doing or not. And I mean, I can't, I mean, say much on this in terms of you as a leader, you need to really spend time with them, try to understand them. And it's not about just directing and giving instruction, but you need to be involved together with them. And this is where, I mean, at this time, not only at this time, but as a leader, you need to roll your sleeve together to ensure that you are actually part of the particular team as one. That is actually my comment on this, Andy.
Yeah. It's mean that in becoming a leader in contact center, there is some aspect you need to learn about digital, about people, about the business process. Yeah, it's not easy to be good in those 3 areas. Yeah, and yeah, not easy also from people outsider to just enter in contact center and managing all the things. Okay, how you want to add something, Pak Byron, regarding this one?
Yeah, I think that, because of the very varied nature of contact centers,
Yeah.
we have to learn everything. But Andy, it's the only time that I am studying COPC while trying to get my IT certification, while also trying to figure out, HR and how to maneuver people management at the same time, because leading in contact centers has many facets, multiple facets,
I see.
and you have to stay abreast of all of them. Raymond has always been a big advocate of RPA,
I see.
and a finance guy having to study automation anywhere and Blue Prism, UiPath. It's not to be expected. But in our business, I think because of the nature of the business and how varied it is, all
I
of us
see.
as leaders have to challenge ourselves to learn more and to understand all of the different aspects of the business to be successful.
Okay. There is also a question here from Pak Sudibyo. Maybe,
I see that one, the one about the analytics of the
yeah.
overall business, which would be best for the company. I think a lot of companies now are
Yes.
looking
No.
for
And
that.
then,
They're
yes.
looking for that.
Yes.
In my organization, for example, we build out a data lake where we put all of our data in one central repository. And we have a team of data scientists who basically take data from from that lake, and then they format it in a method that's needed
Yeah.
by the operations groups. So you go back to your client and you say, here's what, if you maybe changed this particular aspect of your process or your logistics, you might be able to reduce this number of interactions from
Yeah.
customers who are calling you.
Yeah.
We built a model, Pak Andy, that's quite interesting. So if you look at the interactions and you draw them on an axis, a
Yeah.
graph, you
Yeah.
have low value interactions that are also an irritant to the customer. These are the ones we want to eliminate, because for us as a business, we don't want to entertain those interactions. To the
Yes.
customer, they don't want to call us either.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of interaction types that we should eliminate. And then you've got the high value interactions where we want those interactions. The customer wants those interactions.
Yeah.
That's where we should be investing, spending our time and our money. And without analytics, without big data to be able to provide this information to us, we will never get better at this. So
Yeah.
the long answer to the question that's been asked in the chat by Pak Sudibyo is that we do have to use analytics. We do have to get good at managing big data. We have to learn visualization techniques using technologies from Tableau, from Power BI, from Clipfolio, from you name it. But basically, without that, we will not be able to deliver on these insights that our customers want.
Yes, agree. I mean that beside that, we need to improve the capability as well from the agent, because as you said that low value interaction, it could be go to digital or chatbot or robotic, but high value. Sometimes the difficulty of doing that because of the regulation of the company itself. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to Raymond. Maybe you want to add something regarding this one.
So I think, Pandy, one of the things that I'm seeing, as the contact center president also in Malaysia, and one of the reasons I think Sarah spoke a little bit more about Indonesia taking a different model, right? But in Malaysia is the converse. You see people are generally wanting to outsource, right?
Yeah.
And I think there are two reasons, or rather maybe one reason, I don't know. But I'm beginning to see a lot of contact centers put their money not so much on the traditional tools that we put in a contact center, and you know what I'm saying, right? The traditional tools, but a lot more money in investment is going into automation, and into big data analytics. And that is the attraction factor now. So BPOs are actually going to organizations and say, hey, look, we're not just offering you contact center. We're not just offering you headcounts to answer calls, but really what we're offering you is value in terms of the automation that we can bring, and number two, the analytics that we bring along with it, right? So I promised you some examples, and Byron mentioned about RPA again. Something very close to my heart, indeed, because I recently we did something for our client where the headcount requirement was about for 250 heads, And really what happens is that the interaction was for 5 minutes, and typically the after call work would take about 10 minutes because of the management of the data to be put into various systems took a long time. So the actual interaction time took about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, we use automation to eliminate the after call work entirely. So whatever the agent needed to pick an information, he could do that during the call in a very simple form within that 5 minutes, and all after call work. That means there's no training needed for him to learn how to use the company's 3 or different 4 CRMs, the company's billing systems, for example. There was no need for us to train him in that, because the bot was going to do all the entire after call work. Right? So what that really meant is that instead of hiring 100 and 250 people, we only needed about 110 people.
I see.
People. So that savings is going back into the automation. And these are things in most organizations, it would take a long time to achieve. Very often the contact center head in most of the traditional companies, when they raise their hands and say, look, I need 3 million ringgit for budget, it always goes below the below the carpet. Okay, this is not priority, we got other things to do first, But here is an immediate access when you outsource. It's not just outsourcing your payroll, right? But you are getting access to technology, you're getting access to automation, you're getting access to big data, analytics. And by the way, on top of all of that, I'm also going to reduce headcount and shrink my budget.
I see.
So there is no reason for the bot to say, no, I don't want to do this. I think that's really the game changer today. And I'm beginning to see that happening in a lot of. It's just not me. I'm just not talking about my company. As I see it, as the industry as a whole, and we are moving towards that. The BPOs are moving towards spending a lot more money in big data and in automation, so that clients are able to get that expertise almost immediately.
Yeah.
Yep.
But some client maybe not appreciate about the reduction of the number of agents, because they pay based on the number of agents. It means that if you utilize only 110, they want to pay only 110, not 250, because how about that one? Is it happen in Malaysia, or because sometimes in Indonesia like that?
It's the same, Andy. At the end of the day, when you reduce headcount, nobody likes it, right? Especially, right? That's what you do, right? It'd be crazy. But the reality is that is the new world we live in.
I see. Okay.
I do not share these new tools available to my clients. Someone else will come and share the same tool. This tool is not exclusive to me. It's not that I have branded and it's my IP. I own it. Nobody else has it in the world, right? It's not rocket science. So if I don't do it, somebody else will do it.
Yeah, sure.
This is the real world. If with new tools today, we just need that much of headcount.
I see.
But I think that's where the leadership comes in, right?
Yes, sure.
That's where that call comes in. Do you want to do it, or don't you want to do it? Do you want to take a short-term dip in your revenue for a long-term gain, or do you want to maintain that current revenues you have, which may not last you too long? So that is really a game changer that we need to think: short-term gain or long-term gain. Yep.
Okay, automation become the key as well for the BPO, because they become more effective, efficient, of course. Yeah. Okay.
And also, Andy, the other thing is you also, in the perspective of Malaysia, you must understand our population is only 30 million.
Yeah. We have.
I was about to tell that.
we have a population of 30 million, of which 15 million contribute to the economy. So only 50%, right? So 50% working population. How many? So what is the percentage of people working in the business of serving customers? Maybe 5% of that, 10% of that. So you're looking maybe 1.5 million total people. We can't scale up like some of our neighboring countries, because that's our size. So for companies in Malaysia, there is a great incentive to do more with less people.
I see.
Because we cannot grow.
Right?
So we cannot grow as fast. So there is a different sort of incentive for the Malaysian BPO companies, that the companies are looking at it differently, that this becomes a critical success factor for us.
Yes, sure. That's very good point. Yeah, I mean Yeah, good to Pak Sarah regarding this point. But I think I want to think another perspective of Indonesia. Yeah, in Indonesia now become some channel that become attractive in Indonesia. It's not only voice, digital, social media, video even, video contact center. Yeah, even become some company using video because of opening account become popular in Indonesia. Yeah, what do you think about the changes of the media in your perspective?
So in fact, Pak Andy, I remember in 2016, if I'm not wrong, 2016 or 2015,
Yeah.
what happened was in Contact Center World Association in Vegas.
Yeah.
That time, one of our financial institution in Indonesia presented. I think you know who I'm referring to. Presented, and at that point of time, we said, "Wow, I mean, this is something new." Yeah, that was in 2016, if I'm not wrong. 2016 itself is already being presented. Yeah. And of course, as you mentioned just now, it is actually a trend right now. It's a trend that happening in Indonesia. Yeah, and I'm also observing in terms of the requirement coming from our clients. Yeah,
I see.
And not from one financial institution, but I can see the trend is there from few of the clients.
Yeah.
And this is something that we cannot deny. We cannot deny. And we as a BPO player, again, the question is, can you deliver? Can you make it happen? So the answer is, of course, coming from BPO, the answer is always yes.
We can calculate,
Then we think about it, not how to make it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to add a bit on what Raymond and Byron mentioned just now in terms of automation, analytics that are happening.
Yeah.
And this is a very interesting topic that I continuously having with my team also in terms of what exactly behind the numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
What exactly behind the numbers? I mean, gone with the days that, I mean, like how we used to do. Yeah, I mean, again, not undermining Excel, like what Raymond mentioned just now. Yeah, Excel is a powerful tool. Yeah, we used to, I mean, do things and go and show to the client, done deal. Yeah? But we can see also based on what we used to be at the pickup point of time and the evolution of even the questions that are coming from the client. Yeah? How we are preparing ourselves from BPO perspective. And this is where being a leader in the contact center, being a leader in this BPO, how we are transforming our people. Yeah. And I mean, moving from the just low value activity to a second or maybe the mid value activities. Yeah. Yeah. And this is actually a transformation that needs to happen within the breaker people too. Yeah, because if we think that we want to continue doing what we are doing right now, nothing wrong. You can do whatever you want to do, but you will slowly be not relevant into the breaker industry. Done deal. Yeah. So this is where, I mean, looking at the population of people that we have, I mean, here in our country, 270 million with a workforce around 110, 115 million people. I mean, people actually really wants job. Yeah. And I did one analysis within my organization, Andy, and I was, I mean, shocked to see 75% of my population today are actually graduates.
Yeah.
Having first degree.
Yes.
And this is for me is actually because I can know what exactly happening in Malaysia, and I can also see what happening in Indonesia. Which is happening here is that, I mean, more and more people are actually moving into, I mean, the amount of people that are actually having degree, master, who are actually moving into the contact center environment. Are we going to give them low value activities? I think that's actually very low activity that we are giving. We need to get them to move to the next level. But at the same time, we also have the population of workforce that we need to manage. Yeah. So these are the kind of dilemma as a leader we need to think and make things happen better.
Yeah, yeah. It happened in Indonesia when we are moving to Yogyakarta, Semarang. Yeah, it's because it's different. What is level of salary? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think they're first graduate as well in that location, and they because of the low job opportunity, they're willing to go to the contact center. Yeah, but turnover between one BPO to another BPO become also problem. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And you know that they're changing the one BPO to BPO just because of small amount of
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happened. So do you experience this one?
Yes, Andy. I mean, I think for Byron and Raymond's, for both of your sake, around 30 ringgit only, Raymond and Andy. It's actually around 100,000 rupiah. We are seeing people actually moving. 200,000 rupiah, they are moving. Again, this is something that I would not say that, I mean, it's wrong for them to move, because it's actually about survival.
Survival.
And survival. And I mean, this is where, I mean, sometimes we also being tight, not because of anything, because the cost of operation continue to be pressed. And like what being mentioned also by Pak Andi just now, the Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja, the UCK, all this actually has to be taken into consideration where the cost of operations is going up. And year on year, the pressure coming from, I mean, our client in terms of how can you ensure that quality continue to be improved, your cost to operate going to be going down. And the thing here, one thing that we also have to observe is that we call it upah minimum provinsi, the minimum wages is actually UMP. So it's actually already being set by the government. I mean, in the respective province, in Jakarta how much, in Jogja is how much, in Semarang is actually how much. So a lot of the components actually already being locked. So this is where that, I mean, the creativity needs to come in strong in terms of not only going in and selling like what we do used to be, but the value that we're going to give. I think well said, Raymond, in terms of the value that we have to give. The value creation actually going to make a differentiator between one to another.
Okay. It's become very interesting to discuss about this one. And okay, but I think the time is almost the end. So maybe we can use this time to give the last statement. I mean, that what is your opinion about how roadmap for the leader become now? We're talking about the technology, digitalization, how leadership become confident. What is the channel, services industry, and so on. So many things that we need to think. And of course, changing the roadmap of our business itself is not easy at this time. Sometimes we when people say that I want to create a roadmap for in the next 5 years, I immediately think, wow, how we can do it, these changes. Now it's I cannot. We cannot plan. But we need to do it something, to progressive, So give your, I mean, that statement, key point that we can give to our participant here. And also, don't worry, because my team will write down your thought to publish into our website and so on. Please, who want to go first? Byron?
Yes, I can go first. No problem, Pak Andy.
Go ahead.
So I guess just circling back on some of the things that were said just now, we were talking about a little bit some of the changes that are happening, and Pak Sarah said you can lose someone for 100,000 rupiah, from one contact center to another. These are the kind of problems that we as contact center leaders are going to have to address in the coming months or years, and that's going to take every ounce of creativity, humanity, and leadership that all of us have. Simply because we're going to have to educate the workforce and show them that sometimes 100,000 rupiah or 30 ringgit difference from one job to another isn't as important as the kind of employment experience they're going to get. We will treat them better. We will respect them more. We will have a lot more humanity and dignity attached to how we manage our workforce. And for that reason, it will make sense to stay with us as opposed to going somewhere else. And finding out how to do that is our responsibility, yours, Pak Andi, yours, Pak Sarah, Pak Raymond, and me. We are the ones who have to figure this out. So I think, and picking up on your point, you said, how do you do a roadmap for 5 years? It's a bit like crystal ball, right? Will there be another pandemic in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? We don't know. I think 5 years is a very long timeline. And I think that when you're talking about that kind of horizon, you're crystal balling it a little bit, right? There's too much crystal ball here.
Yeah.
I like to work in terms of 18 months. You know, what's your 12 to 18 month plan? And then you start drawing out a roadmap that looks at what are the problems that you're facing today and that have changed in the past 12 months. And what are those things going to evolve into in the next 12 months? And that's when you start to think, where do I invest? Do I invest in changing management ratios, for example? Andy, you asked that question earlier. It was an amazing question, by the way. You know, I found over the years that we've gone away from COPC's 1:15, Sarah, and we've started to go a little bit lower than that. Because we find that we need to give people a lot more face time with their leadership than we've had to do in the past. And in a pandemic, when people are isolated and at home, I think this is becoming even more important. So do we spend there? Do we invest in online tools to monitor the well-being of people? Do we invest more on insights, big data, analytics, analytics on where our people are spending their time? What are they doing? Do we invest in HR? Do we invest in employee engagement? One of the things I've invested on heavily in the last 2 years is employee engagement. The amount of money we spend thinking of how we can engage our workforce, running lockdown parties. We can't even have an annual dinner or annual party anymore. What do you do about that? Do you just say, oh, it can't be done, so it can't be done? Or do you say, what can I do that can come close to doing that and give people that kind of fun, right? Just like you see CC-APAC and CC-AM, we have transformed. Our awards used to be in person, completely in person. Now what are we doing? It's completely virtual. And the awards are running, the ceremony is running. We're still able to make that impact. And I think the roadmap over the course of the next 12 to 18 months is to figure out how we can give our workforce that normality, how we can give our workforce that employee experience that's going to make them want to stay not only in our industry, but in our own respective organizations. That's what I have in mind, Andy. I hope that's useful.
Thank you very much, Pak Byron. This
Welcome, Pak Andy.
12, 18 months roadmap plan is better right now because of the changes. And as for your information, in Indonesia now, for our award, virtual award, we have 367 individual participants. Yeah, from 40 companies. It's a lot of participants this year comparing to last year. It's almost double.
Fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations, Pak Andy.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, next to Raymond. Yeah, I think, okay, what is your tips, recommendation, or something that, for our audience now?
Well, I think I will probably end with where I started off. I think the fact that if you talk about the roadmap, right, and if you look back in the last 20 years, where the industry has really moved from what it was, from a landline era, as I said, to what was a internet era, and then more recently the mobile era, and we have learned to adapt as we go along, very quickly. And I think now, most importantly, as we talk about this digital era, is customer contact centers today. We see ourselves more of a solution center, as more of a total solution center rather than pure contact center per se. And that what really means is the infusion of technology and the tools that we're going to work with. We spoke this afternoon, we touched on RPA, robotics process automation, we touched a little bit on data analytics, and I think these are things, and on top of that, machine learning and stuff like that. And these are the things that are going to change the industry moving forward. And I think we have to, and I also mentioned about being pucker to your surroundings. I think that's very important. These are just some of the tools that are available now. And I think we know with technology changing so fast, there'll be more and more tools coming in. And, we cannot be obsolete. We cannot allow ourselves to be obsolete. And, and talking about obsolete, perhaps this will be a parting word. If you remember the story of Gary Kasparov beating IBM Deep Blue in this game, right? Several years later, they asked him, are we going to be obsolete by this machine? And his answer to that was, the machines won't make us obsolete. but our complacency will make us obsolete.
I see.
And I think that really touched my to the core. That look, it is not these machines. If you do not learn how to coexist with them, if you don't update yourself, if you don't upskill yourself, if you don't reskill yourself, then you will be obsolete. So I think that is very important. My parting remark is, in the sense that yes, the roadmap is there. It's going to be very wavy. It's not as it was, or rather, what we like it to be flat. It's not going to be that way. We know, but at the same time, there's so much of these tools that are coming in. We really need to keep ourselves abreast, so that we don't become obsolete.
I see. So changing of the technology is the way, for doing this one. Okay, thank you, Raymond, for the tips for our audience. And last but not least, of course, Pak Sarah.
I guess, from my side, Pak Andy, I can't disagree on what Pak Byron and also Pak Raymond has mentioned. I think one important thing that we need to acknowledge at this point of time, by hearing about the technology, the automation, the digitalization, these are the common conversations that we are having at this point of time. And it doesn't change from one BPO to another or from one contact center leader to another. All this actually happening. What we need to do at this point of time, we have to move from our comfort zone. That is a must. We have to move out from our comfort zone. And as a leader, we must know what exactly is happening out there. And when we say that we know what exactly is happening there, how is that actually being translated into your own internal organization? How do you drive your people to ensure that they are also agreeing and embrace the change that actually going to happen? And that's actually very important as a leader that you need to do. Of course, some of the tips that I could actually share here, you need to lead by example and walk the talk. This is need to be demonstrated in your daily activities, how you manage your team, how you conduct your meetings, how you give opportunities for your team to come forward, and many more. And the second one is actually, you need to know your people. Being a role model in the environment of being a leader in the contact center environment. What I personally have taken as my own internal improvement, I need to know the people not only by saying this person is the head of this project, head of that, head of this. I know until the level of their name. You need to have the engagement with him or her, as I've explained earlier. You need to know his or her strength and weaknesses and evaluate them from time to time, and doesn't stop there, because you need to ensure that there's a proper individual plan put forward in developing them. And by ensuring that you're also preparing, as from leader perspective, what exactly that you're anticipating out there. Because you can't be in the state of denial, telling that whatever that's happening out there is not going to happen to you, because you need to make yourself prepared. And you need to have a proper development plan for your people. From the training perspective, expose them from time to time with different level of management activities outside the organization. And as a leader, as I mentioned just now, you need to roll your sleeve as and when required. By saying this, I'm not referring that you must lead by example and not only giving instruction, but able to demonstrate that you know what they are doing, and this will build the trust, and this will get them to do the same to their staff. And the last tip that I would like to mention here, actually, the role of a leader is not to come out with all the great ideas, but to create an environment in which great ideas can happen.
I see.
That my closing remark on this, Andy, and my tips.
Thank you, Pak Sarah. But can you add something? What do you like about your team in Indonesia?
Okay.
You don't need to mention what do you don't like. You need to mention about what do you like.
Seriously, Andy. I can't. Deny on this particular matter. The team is actually hungry for changes. The team is actually really. They work very hard. This is something that I told to myself, hey, am I working harder as them, or am I not as hard as them? But these are the things. What they need is just the guidance.
I see.
And this particular guidance, as a leader, you must know what exactly that you need to shape the particular team. And when you know how to shape the particular team, they are coming strong.
I see.
So this is the beauty that I am observing at this point of time, is that being a leader, if you do not even know where exactly your destiny is going to be, it's actually going to be very difficult. But the moment you know where actually you are heading, the team behind you is actually coming strong. And this is, I mean, for me, the thing that I am blessed because the team is actually waiting for this kind of, leader to come in and make that kind of changes. And today, I'm happy that, they are coming together. The thing here actually, how fast are we able to deliver whatever that we need to make things happen? Yeah, because it takes together in terms of the people readiness. It talks about, the investment that we need to do. A lot of things needs to be done in terms of, doing a bit of overhaul of the breaker engine that we have been working on for a while.
I see. Okay, thank you, Pak Sarah. Okay, give applause for all of this speaker. Very good speaker. Thank you very much. Yeah, Pak Byron, Pak Sarah, and Pak Raymond. Yeah. This is actually, I don't know whether the participant is coming from Indonesia, but I think supposed to be some other countries joining for this one. And we also broadcast this one to YouTube. Later on, we will edit some video of this one and broadcast through Instagram, Facebook. That's all we can do for the CC-APAC from my side. I don't know what else we can do to grow this community, but I think this is what I can do. Yeah, and hopefully next month and next following month until the end of 2021, we can have a regular leader talk like this, inviting industry player. Yeah. Hopefully, if you have someone in mind to be invited for leaders talk, I think let's do it. And I think maybe, yeah, it's already end of this discussion. So let's talk about the CC-APAC. What do you think, Byron, we can do next? Or Raymond? Byron first, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think first of all is continue the good fight, Andy. Keep it going. I think that we'll only go from strength to strength the more we do these talks, and I think that as an industry, it's still very, very relevant and very necessary for us. After all, we were doing this before the pandemic, weren't we? Just it was in person. So I would start by saying, please continue to do what you're doing with CC-APAC. It's extremely important. What else can we do is, I think it's not so much how much we can do, but it's how much we solicit participation, how hard we try to push these events to our individual networks, the people we make aware of them, and the effort that we put in all of the different CC-APAC countries. And that's where I think we can make the biggest difference.
Yeah, that's what we do now. Yeah, we try our hard. I mean that. Okay, Raymond.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, Andy, congratulations. I think you've been carrying the flag for us all for this while, a long while with CC-APAC. I think it's amazing what you've done. You started with this leaders talk. I think it starts with a small step, right? It's just not going to be something that's just going to happen like that overnight. I think I think you just have to keep at it, as Byron said. Keep just going at it. I think also there's a lot of people are also fatigued staying at home and listening to long conversations, and I think what you're doing with the clips, posting it on social media, I think that's going to be really good, because people want to hear the key points. There's so many webinars going on today, and people are getting fatigue as well. Screen fatigue become a big thing. So I think it's good that I think we're looking at it a different way. The small snippets definitely will work. I think what we really need to do is to also try to jointly market this with all the other leaders as well. I think that becomes very important. I think we need to put some thoughts together. We need to come together and see how we can disseminate this information. I think a lot of us are still running our own activities for our own communities. And I suppose during this period, there is a need for that, because there are local problems, and people want to, unfortunately, people want to sort of have a touch and feel of some of the local issues that's going on. But I think it doesn't stop us from learning, continue to learn, and we should find new ways of how we can actually disseminate this information out, even to the greater community among the 8-9 countries that we have in CC-APAC.
Yes. Okay, even though Pak Sarah not in the association, but I still give you time to give a comment. How do you think as CC-APAC has to be? What we need to do? I mean that.
I mean, first thing first, I must congratulate Pak Andy because when I came to Indonesia, I was really touched when yourself, Pak Andy. I mean, when we had the first session. Yeah, I mean the warm welcome that you have given. Yeah, in terms of yes, Sarah. I mean, Pak Sarah, let's have because I remember that when we had the first conversation, I said, let's grow this particular industry further. And I mean, there's no negative conversation. You say, okay, I would like to have this, and you keep to your promise, Pak Andy. Yeah? I remember that we said by April we should have one session. You made it happen, and like what is happening right now, the Speaker Leaders Talk without fail happening on monthly basis, and this is actually the perseverance that I'm seeing in you, the discipline that in you that actually will bring us to the next level. The same thing at this particular point of time is that when we talk about the CC-APAC, my personal wish is that how can this particular CC-APAC go into the next level, which means that now we are talking from this particular region perspective. How can we cross over to the other region too? For us to learn what exactly happening maybe in America, in Middle East, if they have the same platform, why not? I mean, today we know that we have this Contact Center World Association by Raj Wardani. I mean, how can we have a bit of collaboration? To have a bit of understanding what exactly is happening from the other leaders over the other side of the region for them to share in terms of their view too. Because whatever that we speak here at this point of time, we are actually sort of aligned between our region here. But I know that when we move into the next level of conversation, there are many other things that we could learn from them too. So I hope that this is my wish, and I thank Pak Andy for allowing me to speak in this particular session, and not only this particular session, some other sessions also you have been calling me, and I'm very happy to be a contributor for this particular conversation. Thank you. Where is Pak Andy? Pak Andy.
Byron, you want to take over as moderator?
This is a very interesting turn of events.
We lost him, or what?
It appears we've lost Pak Andy.
Okay, we think Pak Andy has lost connection.
Okay.
Okay, maybe we can close this this webinar, and thank you for all panelists, and thank you for all participants. See you at the next event, and stay healthy. Oh,
Pak Andy is back.
Pak Andy. Okay, we still wait.
Can't hear Pak Andy for now. Oh, okay, Pak Andy. Yes, you're back.
Okay.
I apologize, my internet is distracting. Yeah, okay, sorry.
So it's not because of me, Pak Andy. I was actually really bragging in terms of telling that the good thing that we have been doing suddenly.
Yeah. My internet. I just have my backup internet to turn on. Not easy. Anyway, thank you very much for the sharing today. Yeah, the recorded is already here, and I think YouTube as well. And please give us some input what next we can do, and the speaker as well. Please invite your speaker from Malaysia to speak up for the next month leader talk in September, October, November as well. Thank you very much, and all participants as well. Thank you for joining this one. See you next month, and with another topic. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pak Andy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pak Andy. Have a nice evening.
For you to judging our Indonesia Corporate Award. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.